Good morning. Good morning. It's good to see so many people come out for the annual business meeting and the election ratification process. This is one of the more important events in the conference because this is where we take care of the business of AMAC. We bring you up to speed in terms of what the significant developments have been over the year, and we also give you a peek into what's coming for next year. And we also give you the outcome of the election, and I know all of you are anxiously awaiting to see who will be part of the new leadership of AMAC. So again, I'm Ricky Smith, Executive Director and CEO of the Baltimore-Washington International Thurgood Marshall Airport. That's my part-time job. My full-time job is Chair of the Airport Minority Advisory Council's Trade Board. And again, I want to welcome you this morning. Before I get into my remarks, I first want to ask the amazing members of the AMAC Trade Board of Directors if they will stand, because I speak on their behalf. AMAC is, although it has a national office that is becoming more and more powerful by the week now, AMAC is also powered by a very, very robust level of participation from volunteers on committees. And so if you are on a committee, if you are chairing a committee, vice chair of a committee, or if you're a member of a committee, if you can please stand, we want to acknowledge you as well. And last, if you're someone who is in a category that has not been spoken on yet, please stand. We want to applaud you as well. You are participants in the making, and so we'll work on you, and we look forward to working with you. The last point I'll make is they're probably not here, but I always want to acknowledge the other two board chairs of AMAC. We have the foundation board. Hopefully you were at the Celebrating Women in Aviation breakfast few minutes ago. Amazing event, and that event was led by no one other than Don Hunter, who serves as the foundation board chair during the event. At the end of this conference, Sunshine White will take over the foundation board chair. And so I just want to acknowledge the amazing work that group does and all the members of that board. If any of them are here, I'll just ask them to stand and I'll acknowledge them. I'm not expecting them to be here, but we do have some, okay. And then lastly, certainly not least, AMAC doesn't get most of what it has to get done in terms of advocacy without having, an active governmental affairs committee and an active political action committee. And so the board of the political action committee is chaired by Nancy West. I don't know if Nancy West is in the room, but I wanted to acknowledge Nancy West. And Daryl Daniels. Daryl is her very able vice chair. I also want to acknowledge any, you might as well stay standing, Daryl, past chairs of trade that are in the room. I know we have the great Bill Swift right here in front of us, Bill Daniels, Farad Ali, I don't think Nancy's in the room, Nedra Farah-Luton, all the success that you see today comes on as a result of all the great work that they did over the last 20 years to position AMAC to be successful. So I'm gonna give an update on some key initiatives that the board launched over the last couple of years, and then I will also announce some new initiatives that we're taking on. The board has been very busy, and so you'll see that, and then later on you'll see the work that the national office has done over the year, and you'll see that office has been busy as well. So last year I made the point that one of the constant impediments that we talk about in terms of women and minorities having access to business opportunities, access to capital. And that's been an impediment for 30 plus years prior to AMAC being formed. And we can't continue to just talk about this being an issue without taking some action to try and resolve it. It's not easy, right? Because those that don't want us to have equal access to opportunities know that the one thing they have to hold on to is capital. And so we've got to take it upon ourselves to solve that problem. And so last year, on behalf of the board, we announced a capital development committee. And this committee would pull together a platform, an infrastructure where we can make, through AMAC, capital available to our membership. And so that committee, okay, we can clap. One thing we don't do in business meetings, we don't do overzealous clapping. Okay, so, no, I'm just joking. Ebony laughed like 5 minutes after I said the joke. It took her a while. Anyway, this committee has been very busy. Sade is sitting, if you'll stand, please. Sade serves as the chair of the Capital Development Committee. And she had some very strong members of that team. I think Brett Kelly is in the room, who served. And if there are other members of the committee, will you please stand? And so since that announcement last year that we would form this group, they've been busy meeting almost every other week, pulling together strategies. And so they were able to come up with one element. This is the first product that will come out of that work that will be available to you, and that is a partnership with Lendistry that will introduce under AMAC a platform, a portal that you will be able to go to and seek options for financing your ventures. And so this is a major launch, a major first step for us, and I want to commend Everett Sands, who is the CEO of Lendistry right here, for one, agreeing to partner with AMAC. I'll tell you, this Lendistry is knocking out of the park. It was just recently announced, 2-3 days ago, that they just got a second installment, another installment, I should say, a $15 million installment from the state of Maryland to add to the hundreds of millions of dollars that they make available to minorities and small minority-owned firms like you. And so more to come on that, but this is our first program. The committee will work just as tirelessly as they did during the last year to add more products to that menu. So I want to commend the committee on their work, and again, I want to thank Everett Sands and Lendistry for partnering with us. That's an important first step for us. The second item that we announced, the board announced at the last meeting was, and so this idea that AMAC would constantly be approached by private companies, in some cases by other executive search firms, to help them find women and minorities for employment opportunities. We admire the fact that they see us as a resource, but why can't AMAC provide that business? And so we launched an exploratory committee last year to look at opportunities to launch an executive search firm. That committee, too, has been busy. I'm going to ask, where's Nikki Harlan, who's a board member? Where's Nikki? Nikki Harlan, who chaired that committee. I want to commend her. Jeanette Saunders. We have vice chairs and committee members who are here. Crystal Davis. I want to commend them for the work that they did. And so later this month, we will be issuing an RFI, a request for interest, nationwide for firms to partner with AMAC to offer executive search services to the industry. And we plan to announce the firm that we select by the end of the year. And so this is going to be a major venture for AMAC, not just in the way of providing much needed services to you and others that are not in the AMAC family, but will also be a revenue source for AMAC. You know, we spent a lot of time on the board talking about how we can diversify our revenue stream. And so we're looking forward to this developing. 2 meetings ago, we launched the Airport Leadership Collective. The ALC is a gathering of minority airport CEOs, commissioners, board members, and you know, we wanted to bring that group in because no one in this industry has more influence than the airport CEOs and commissioners, right? And so they've been busy as well. They've been a huge supporter of our mentoring program, our fellowship program. They inspired that program, and they've inspired other programs. And so John Clark, I'm not sure if John Clark is in the room. He's also one of the former chairs. John Clark is chairing the Airport Leadership Collective. He may be looking for his jacket. John left his jacket at the party last night, so I think he's still out looking for it. So if someone can find John Clark and tell him that he has his jacket on, that might help him a little bit. So anyway, John and the 50 or so members of the ALC have been very busy supporting AMAC, providing Ebony and her team advice and guidance on the many initiatives that they've undertaken. And so we're happy with that group. We wanted to expand our reach in terms of connecting with the CEOs in our family. And so we created what we call the AMAC CEO Summit, a series of meetings that allowed them to come to the table and, one, tell us what's important to them, what's working, what's not working, and then develop a series of strategies to try and better position our community for wealth creation. This is not about necessarily improving the DBE program. This is about expanding the program, for example, to allow for wealth creation. And so this group has been very busy. We've met 4 times. And so this group has committed to 3 what I'll call pillars that will drive their work and also drive and influence the work that AMAC does. And one is positioning AMAC to be a thought leader, right? If you want to be credible in this industry, people have to see you as someone who influences the agenda, right? Someone who is an expert, someone who brings credibility to the positions that we take. And so there are a number of strategies around positioning AMAC to be a thought leader. You will hear from Ebony when she comes up and report that we've already made significant progress to that end. The ACDBE and DBE programs, albeit very, very important programs, and they've been very successful in terms of positioning our community for opportunities in the airport. It's an unnatural mechanism, right? We're the only community that has to go through these unnatural steps to be successful in the industry. And so this committee, this group, the CEOs also charged AMAC with looking at pushing to modernize those programs, to push those programs more to being more supportive of the needs that women and minorities have as opposed to being administrative burdens. And so we got some work to do there. And then the third pillar, I'm beginning to draw a blank on the third pillar. I think it's around education and helping access the capital. Thank you. Access to capital, again, making sure that we remove that barrier. I talked a little bit about that earlier, making sure that we remove that barrier. And so the committee has been very busy. 2 years ago, we also announced that we would create local chapters. And so during that time, the committee chaired by Justina Mann, Justina right here is a board member, Michael Washington, who is a vice chair, Kimberly Sutton, who's a vice chair. I hope I'm not forgetting a vice chair. And the other members of that committee have been working very, very, very hard, including working with the national office and extensions of the national office to pull that off. Last year, we announced 8 chapters that would be authorized to apply to become formal chapters. And those 8 chapters were those authorizations of Baltimore, Washington, Chicago, Denver, Detroit, Los Angeles, Portland, Atlanta, and Houston. So we're happy to report You can clap. Okay. A little bit overzealous, but that's okay. So we're very happy to report that 6 of those 8 chapters, you put them back up on the screen, these 6 cities have formalized their chapters, and so they are now actively engaged in the business of growing and running their chapters. And you may have seen them running around the conference like chickens with their head cut off because they're new and they don't quite know what to do with themselves yet. They just have a lot of pent-up energy and they're all excited and everything, and that's a beautiful thing. I think this will be, as I said when we first launched this, other than the founding moments of AMAC, this will be the most transformative development in AMAC's history. 8 chapters now. Shortly after this, the committee is going to begin the process of soliciting other cities to join the family of chapters. And so we find ourselves, who knows, when we come back here next year, we may have 16 chapters, and it will continue to grow. And so we're very proud of the progress made there. And so as you see, the board has been very, very busy through the committees, and we're very excited about the stuff that the board has been doing. I'm going to now ask for some formal committee reports. I'm going to ask for a committee report on our financial position, a committee report on our conference planning efforts. Bill Swift is our treasurer. You know Karen, I'm sorry. Karen Ellis is our conference planning chair. And then Tosin Kasali is our membership chair. The 3 of them are going to provide you an update, and then I'll come back and I'll talk to you about some new stuff that we're planning to do as we move forward, and then we'll move to the agenda. So, Bill, you want to come up and do a finance?
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Bill Swift, Chair of AMAC Finance Committee, and Javon Goldstein, AMAC Chief Financial Officer.
Well, as a result of Ricky taking so long to say so little, sorry, Ricky. It's my turn to get a chance to say something about this guy. But anyway, I'm going to be very brief. Very briefly saying that it was our charge as a finance committee and as a treasurer of AMAC to make sure that we could not only get through the impact of COVID during COVID, but post-COVID. We think we have established a base for how to do that, and our financial position is quite strong. I won't get into details. I'm gonna leave that to the Chief Financial Officer, Javon Goldstein. But I'm going to say that we've had to act on the president and the chair and the board's initiative on driving AMAC in the direction it needs to go for the next 20 years, next 38 years. In the spirit of that, we made sure that they had the financial strength to hire the people, the staff, very capable staff, which I'm sure the president will talk about. And we think that we're in an excellent place for the next 30 years. On that note, Javon Goldstein.
Thanks, Bill. Good morning. So my job is just to give a brief overview of where we stand at financially as an organization, but we are on the rise. And as you all know, numbers don't lie, right? So when you look at our 5-year trend, starting with 2018, we was at about 1.7, and that was on a hierarchy from the year before. And then we all had our favorite year in 2020, COVID, where we actually lost as an organization approximately around $500,000. In 2019, we had a phenomenal year as well with a bounce back, 2.3. And then when you look at 2021, 2022, we also just had a phenomenal year where in 2022, our revenue was $4.4 million. So if you look at where we was at 1.7 in 2018, it's 4.4, and why is this chart reversed? Who sabotaged this presentation? I'm looking at everybody and I'm saying, well, they're not following the numbers. And so let's give it up for the AV team. What's your name? This wasn't what was submitted. So back at the top, we started off with about 1.2 million in 2018, and we grew to 4.4 million. But the main key that you should know that is that in 2020, we had to make some very, very tough decisions as an organization. But those tough decisions worked to help us in the long term. And as you'll hear from our chair and from our president, what we'll see is that the organization is poised for success. Also, a point thing to note is that we had about 1 million in assets in 2018. We doubled that, so we have 2 million in liquid assets and no debt for the organization. So I think that's worthy. Come on, AV team, step with me. Okay, there we go. So I do want to acknowledge the AMAC Foundation, which is a 501c3 organization. Many of you may be aware, may not be aware. The trade organization is a 501c6, which is different. It gives us an ability to actively participate in lobbying and legislative activities, where the 501c3 benefits the general public as a whole, whereas the 501c6 benefits its members strictly, and that's the main tax distinction among others. And the treasurer for that organization, who I do want to recognize, not sure if it's in the room, is Yvette Drake of Unison Consulting. Are you present? Okay. Next up, a close affiliate of ours is the PAC, as you're aware, and the treasurer for that organization is Yvette Drake is the treasurer for that. The treasurer for the PAC is Eleni Paku Lewis from Vantage Airport. Are you here, Sade? Could you stand, please? So other financial matters just to bring to your attention with regards to the organization that you should be made aware of. We do have an independent audit that's conducted on an annual basis. Our independent auditor is SB and Company based out of Owings Mills, Maryland. The audit opinion that we have, which is currently in draft form until it's approved, is an unmodified opinion, otherwise known as a clean opinion. We have no audit findings to bring to your attention, and there's no litigation or contingency matters that we have to bring to your attention as well. If there were any related party transactions, that would be financial transactions between officers of the organization or board of the organization, we would be responsible for reporting that to you. There's nothing to report to you at this time, as well as our Form 990 is always available upon request for any member to review, as well as our financial statements. So in closing, I just want to say that our future is going to be determined how we invest our resources. And that's going to determine our success. And what you're here today is that we're doing that extremely well. And I'm very excited of the future at AMAC. Thank you for your time.
Please welcome Karen Ellis, Chair of AMAC Conference Planning Committee.
Okay, I'm not crying anymore, so I got a lot more to say. So, good morning, everyone. Excuse me. Some of you may have already heard some things I'm going to say, so just indulge me, please. We are super excited. I'd like to have any of the planning committee members to please stand so I can just make sure I acknowledge you. Okay, great. Thank you. At least one person, a couple people in the room. Thank you so much. Oh, Michael, I'm sorry. I didn't see you over there. Sorry. There's no way that we could have put this conference together without that amazing team. But I've said this before, and you'll hear it continuously. I'm a person of first. I love being first at stuff. So let me share a couple of firsts of my knowledge. First time the conference has been held at a resort. The first time the conference has not been held at a downtown location. The first time conference registration was sold out. The first time the conference, there was no on-site registration. And I know that was painful for some people, and I apologize for that. First time there was a record-breaking number of scholarships, 61, that were provided to students for totaling a total of over $130,000. So I also want to recognize our communications and marketing team, because as we were planning the conference and we started to see the numbers ticking up, we immediately had to shift and try to ensure we can accommodate people as best we could. We did not want the same situation as we did in Chicago, although they did an amazing job. Tracy, thank you so much. But we wanted to try to ensure that we kept everybody in one place. So we did have to shift and do some hotel rooms at another location, but we could not do that we couldn't add more rooms to the ballroom, which we really wanted to do. We could. So our amazing team, as I said, they started putting out know before you go. We're getting ready to close. We're about to close. We're almost at closing. We're closed. So that people would know. And then they followed up with a conference app, which all the information is on there. We tried to make sure we gave you enough information before you came, that know before you go, to help you prepare. Well, we didn't expect this weather, but we didn't expect it to be this warm, but we did try to give you information beforehand. So the conference planning team is not only just planning for conferences, we have other events that we're planning for, but we've already started for the 38th annual conference in Nashville. We've already started the planning for that. And so just want to make sure and remind you to please join them for their preview event this evening. They will have a Grammy Award-winning artist that will be performing, so you don't want to miss it. I cannot tell you who it is, or else they'll shoot me. So, and I just want to again say thank you so much for being here, and AMAC is growing, so be patient with us. Thank you.
Please welcome Tosin Kasali, the Chair of AMAC's Members Committee.
Good morning. That wasn't enthusiastic enough. Good morning. All right, we're going to change Ricky's sentiments and we're going to make this a little bit more, what was the word? So we're going to be overzealous because this is about you. This is about the membership. Tosin Kasali, Vice President of Business Development with HMS Host, at-large Director with AMAC on the AMAC Board, and Chair of the Membership Committee. Slide, please. Okay, so a lot of things on the page, on the screen that you see here, but the Membership Committee is comprised of 23 professionals, some of which are in this room. It's been the joy of my career to chair this committee. It's been fruitful in so many different ways, but it's all because of the people who supported me, who've given me the confidence to be able to lead a trade organization with such a rich history. Few of them are in this room. I want to acknowledge my vice chairs first and foremost. Any vice chairs here? I know one couldn't make it, but I see Rachel Goodman. I see two former vice chairs here as well. So part of the success that we've had with the membership committee has been because of you, Crystal Davis. I'll acknowledge Crystal, and then Cynthia. Where's Cynthia? I saw Cynthia earlier. There's Cynthia. So thank you from the bottom of my heart. Thank you for all the support over the last couple of years. Okay, so the one thing I wanted to highlight, if you're looking at this, and I know it's a lot of words on the screen, is that memberships have grown year over year by 43%, 22 to 23. That is you can clap. That is an amazing testament to the energy within AMAC right now. It's a resurgence that we've, not seen. I mean, you look at the number of people who are attending the conference this year, it's a record year, 1,200 people registered. Part of that is because of the word of mouth and all the different things and all the different events that we've had over the years to encourage people to become members and to enjoy the membership. We had a new member orientation a couple of days ago, and I think few people in the room will recognize or at least acknowledge that it was standing room only because of all the new entrants, the young faces, the young professionals, people looking for an opportunity. Because the membership is not just only about showing up to the conference, it's participating. It's lending your perspective and your professionalism and your background and your financial capital and your social capital and bringing it to the forefront of AMAC, which makes you a much more informed member. So with that, I want to say thank you to everyone who said something great about AMAC that's inspired somebody else to come and join us here today. So, and if it's your first time, could you please raise your hand? So as you can see, there is a very obvious impact that we're all having individually. So please continue to connect, continue to inspire. So the one thing I do want to share, which is the brainchild of one of my vice chairs, which started as a brainchild of Mr. Ricky Smith, and on your screen you'll see the membership numbers year over year. But the one thing that I do want to highlight is that we are putting forward what's going to be called the membership portal. Think of it as social media or LinkedIn for AMAC members, where anything related to AMAC can be found there, whether it's a video of Legends and Leapers with all the outtakes and the intakes and all the jokes and not so funny jokes by some people in the front row here. No, he's very funny actually. But the reason I'm bringing this up is there is an energy out there, and a lot of people may not be able to make it to a conference. So a lot of times what you have available is what's online, right? A lot of times you hear about things that are happening within the industry, mostly on LinkedIn or social media. So think about this for AMAC. So we're very, very proud to launch this very soon, if not already. I think a part of what we're doing now is just trying to develop, and now that we've brought on Ramon Lowe, who will be taking on a lot of my responsibilities. Where's Ramon? Okay, so Ramon, buckle up. But this is going to be your baby soon. So I will say that the membership portal is going to be exciting. It's going to be innovative. It's going to be iterative because, again, I want feedback. We want feedback from you on how it's working, what's not working. That way we can just make it a better experience for the members. So I think we don't have to go through the rest of the slides, but just in conclusion, I really want to encourage everybody to continue to attend, continue to be present, continue to make a connection. The membership is only as strong as its members, right? So the stronger the members are, the better the AMAC overall experience is going to be. And with that, thank you, good morning, and I'll see you soon. Cheers.
Please welcome Bridget Biagas, second vice chair of AMAC Board of Directors.
Not quite so fast. Before we do that, and Bridget will come up in a minute there. A couple other things I want to do before I turn it over to Bridget. So one, I talked earlier about the chapters, and I made a huge mistake. First of all, I made a mistake letting Bill and Tosin come to the podium. But I did not allow the chapters to be properly recognized. We have officers of several of the chapters of the 6, if not all of them. And so I'm going to ask them if they can show themselves. So Baltimore chapter, please stand. All right. Okay, Detroit chapter. Chicago chapter. Denver chapter. Portland chapter. And Los Angeles chapter. All right. These are hardworking individuals who are bringing AMAC local. Okay. One more item. So the board thought that it was important that we expand AMAC's impact on this industry by touching a segment of our population that, quite frankly, has been untouched, and that is the suppliers in the industry who are desperate to get their merchandise, their items on the shelves in airports. And quite frankly, they're not covered by the ACDB program. It has not been a focus on AMAC's part. Now, there are other organizations that do focus on suppliers, but not specifically in our industry. You know, minorities travel in huge numbers. We are a very large segment of the traveling population. But our items aren't on the shelf, right? That's one. Secondly, you know, AMAC doesn't get a lot of sponsorship support from suppliers. I mean, you know, we don't get Coca-Cola, we don't get Pepsi, we don't get, I mean, there's a long list of suppliers who are in airports and they're not supporting AMAC. And so we're launching a new initiative called Refund AMAC, or AMAC Refund. And the purpose of this initiative is over the next year, and you see we've developed credibility that when we say we're going to start something, we spend the year focused on it and we come back with deliverables. We're going to develop a series of strategies and programs around making sure that those minorities, women and minorities that are suppliers, that have merchandise and items that they would like to get on the shelves, that they have the ability to do that. That's one. Secondly, the next time we meet and Ebony goes through the list of sponsors, we want the sponsors to not just be concessionaires and operators and A&E firms and construction firms and ground transportation firms. We want the sponsors to be suppliers, major suppliers who are making a lot of money on airports on the backs of minorities to a large degree. And so more to come on that. And this is one of those initiatives I'm very excited about. I think it's also transformative, and so we'll report to you at the next meeting, at the next conference. Bridget Villegas, who is the second vice chair for AMAC, has two initiatives that she's discussed with the board that we're going to launch as well. And so I'm going to ask Bridget if she'll come up and tee up. One initiative is the Legal Advisory Exploratory Committee, and the second one is a Women in Aviation Symposium. So, Bridget Villegas.
What are you doing first? Their slide? There we go. So how many of you attended the Women in Aviation breakfast this morning? Wasn't it great? We are excited and proud to announce that AMAC will be hosting its first Women in Aviation Symposium this fall. So more work for Karen, more work for Ebony, but we are here for it. I'm here to join them, and we'll be calling them upon some of you to participate and join us in the planning. Our thought process is that this will be a 2-day symposium intended to elevate, recognize, and learn from key women in the aviation ecosystem. Our hopes are to add this symposium to the Economic Policy Forum this fall and celebrate, learn, and lift. I took that from Nikki's remarks the other day. Women with us and take them with us on this journey. So we hope to see all of you this fall. We will be calling upon you for sponsorship dollars, for participation, and to volunteer. Next, and this is something near and dear to my heart, I'm a lawyer by trade, and I'm always looking for continuing legal education courses so that I don't have to go home every year and sit in a class for 12 hours to get that. But I would like, I've spoken to the board about this, but we will form an exploratory committee that will be inclusive of AMAC member attorneys and procurement subject matter experts. The potential scope that we are looking at is to assist the general counsel, AMAC's general counsel, in reviewing legal matters of the organization, aid governance and performance management with drafting consent agendas and review of bylaws, and assist the national office with procurement and RFPs, and last but not least, assist with potential continuing legal education credits so that I don't have to sit in class for 12.5 hours. So we'll be calling upon some of our industry attorneys to help to serve on that exploratory committee so that we can get things moving forward, and looking forward to connecting with you all. Thank you.
Please welcome Nick Ryan, Chair of the AMAC Nominations and Elections Committee, and Ricky Smith, Chair of the AMAC's Board of Directors.
Good morning, good morning. All right. All right, next slide, please. So again, my name is Nick Ryan. I'm happy to chair this committee for this very important process. I'd like to acknowledge Raven Berry, Tracy Clark, and the team of volunteers that chipped in this morning to make sure we got you all in the room. Hopefully we'll go digital next year or electronic, but it's a process. Speaking of process, I do want to walk you through the process for your new members, and then we'll get to the important stuff. So the process, the nomination period started March 1st to the 31st. It's important for each of you to nominate those that are involved, and we talked about all the good things that AMAC is bringing. So nominations are key. We send out a call for nominations by email, by social. We got quite a few nominees. Making sure that it's key to make sure that you nominate folks that are in the respective region. So please pay attention to that. On April 26th, the board approved the nomination slate. Or I should say the slate of nominees, and then the process. The process began on May 1st, and it concluded the last day of the month, last day of May. It's key, again, let me point out that when you are campaigning, to make sure that you are falling within the time frame and May 1st to May 31st, in fairness to all the other nominees. Voting. If you are a voting member and you haven't received your votes, make sure you acknowledge or make sure you make the national office aware that you haven't received your voting ballot. Those are sent out by email from June 1st to the 12th, and they close 5 p.m. on the last day, but we send out a lot of notifications, so it's important to key on the notifications that are sent out through the national office. So again, the 12th at 5 o'clock, that was the end of the voting. And on the 13th, which is now, I will open a sealed envelope and share the wonderful news for our I should say, nominated or voted folks. So here's a reminder of the slate of nominees. I can't read that, but it's on the screen. But yeah, so that's there. And for sake of time, I'll just go to the important news here, and I'll do my little Steve Harvey here and try to get this right before let me just take I do want to acknowledge the team of JT Goldstein and his team for going through this process. One of the key things, I know I talked to a lot of you this morning, it's important to get here on time for these membership meetings. The bylaws say that we need a 10% quorum of voting members. We have 735 voting members, so we needed 74 of you, and thank you for all being here. We had, obviously, look around, we had a lot of you here in attendance. So again, thank you for that. All right, so, and Ricky's here to help ratify, so I've built up the suspense a little bit, and let me see what order we had. Okay, so for treasurer, the treasurer winner is, by votes, is Mr. Bill Swift. Thank you. Secretary, she's not here, but I believe her better half or significant other might be in attendance, but the winner for secretary is Mrs. Lauren Magnum-Reed. I don't know if Drew is here. Okay, at-large director. I know we had some intense competition here for that one, but Ms. Marlene Coleman. All right. Regional Director for Northeast. Jenny Killebrew. Regional Director Northwest, Tanya Pastorelli. I'm sorry. Well, I'm reading what's on here. I'm sorry. I know. I'll read it. I know. All right, so, well, Great Lakes, I apologize. Say that one more time. Northwest, okay. Yeah, Jenny Killebrew from Northwest. All right, so Central. Shalia Hudson. All right, that then concludes the winners by vote. I'll pass it over now to Chair Ricky to initiate the election ratification.
He wants me to confirm that. So first of all, let's give the new board members a round of applause. So at this time, I will accept the motion to ratify the elections presented by the nomination chair. So we have a motion from the first vice chair, Simeon Terry, and we have a second from the second vice chair, Bridget Baegas. Do we have a question or concern or an objection to the elections results that have just been presented? Hearing none, the election is approved. So again, congratulations. All right. Now that we have the elections behind us, we will now bring up our President and CEO, Ebony Wimbush. As she makes her way to the stage, I'm going to make this awkward. She doesn't know what's going on, but you know, Ebony has been so I'm not giving, the board didn't give these flowers to her because, you know, we're nice people, but we are. So some of us, right? So, you know, Ebony, I'm not going to, you know, talk about her experience or anything like that. This has been a very, very, very difficult job, right? AMAC does a lot of things well. AMAC does a lot of things, and some of those things we don't do well, but AMAC wants to continue doing, right? When you're trying to change the culture of an organization, you're not going to make everybody happy, right? And the board empowered her to do the tough things to push this organization to the next level. And there were occasions where people weren't happy about it, right? But she pushed through. And she's doing an amazing job with an amazing team. And so I just wanted to, on behalf of the board, to show you that we got you, that we hear you, that we need you, and we applaud all the work that you're doing. We love you. Okay? All right.
Good morning. I'm not going to cry, Karen. No, I appreciate that. I partner with the board. And, you know, the women who sit in this room, we don't get to where we are because things are easy. And if anybody knows me and knows anything about my career, I've been in a male-dominated career my entire life. And you know, it's okay. We are partners. We don't always agree, but we respect each other because we're working to increase the value that we provide to each of you. This organization, you know, we talk about energy and it's on fire, but it's not about the organization being on fire. It's really, again, and I mentioned this the other day, it's about doing the work because you've invested in us. You've invested in a trade association, and you expect us to have strong outcomes. And that's what each of us, myself, the board members, the staff, the volunteers, that's what we're here to do. So I want to quickly tell you about some of the things that have been taking place in 2022 to ensure that your investment is a strong investment and that we're doing the work that we set out to do for each of you. And again, that starts with the board. So if you can cue up the president's report, please. So it starts with the board, and the board has been working to set the strategic agenda for this organization before I got here, but to give me as the president kind of a roadmap to start following. But what the national office and the board has done in 2022 is really to advance that and to get focused on delivering. And so we have been working together throughout the year, and we continue to really develop a strategic plan so that it's very clear on the outcomes that we're gonna make. So last year I talked to you about redefining our future, which included investing in our strategy, becoming an industry authority, increasing member value, retaining and growing our membership, and you've heard some of those numbers, as well as growing our partnerships. So really quickly about investing in our strategy, and I talked some about this before my presentation came up. So the roadmap has taken place over the course of a couple years. Again, 2021, 2022, fall 2022, and you can keep them coming. Thank you. So this is what you expect to see, right? Again, the board met for a couple days of intense planning. We've been meeting with the executive committee of the board. Several of the executive committees of the board are here for our strategic planning committee, including Dwight Poland and Michael Fagus, Nikki Harlan, Farad Ali, Tosin Kasali, Lance Little. And so in August, at the end of the month, we will finalize, we'll present that strategic plan to the executive committee of the board. We'll present it to the full board, and then we will be very clear on the direction that we intend to continue to push forward with some of the things that you've seen, but very clear strategies, goals, and certainly ways to measure our outcomes. So I'm going to move past this so we So this is an important point, this industry authority figure. AMAC has been doing this for 38 years, and over the course of the years, especially the last couple of years, you see lots of organizations focused on DEI. We own this space. You've heard us talk about this, and we will reclaim our status as the only trade association singularly focused on DEI. And what that means, we're going to continue to be in the industry. Our team, that team includes the national office, the board. We have traveled the country, making sure that our voice is heard in many places. We've delivered presentations and led trainings, and also led programming with ACC, with AAAE, National or the Northeast chapter, doing the civil rights training for their virtual training sessions with ACRP. We'll continue to lead. Last year, I told you about the ACRP grant that AMAC won, focus on improving outcomes and enhancing participation with DBE and ACDBE programs. We have a strong team of partners, including Xterra Federal Services, Unison Consulting, Jacobs & Daniels, and we are continuing to do that work to ensure that executives at airports across the country really understand the opportunity that they have with these programs, really to provide them tools and resources so that we increase and enhance the participation. So we continue that partnership with ACRP. How many of you, we had an initiative last year to really focus on getting people involved in ACRP, either on panels or going after their RFPs. Are there any folks in the room in here on an ACRP panel or participating in ACRP projects? I see several folks. So ACRP, for those of you that don't know, they are the leading research, think tank organization for solving some of the greatest challenges here in our aviation space. What we did last year, it really was born out of the ALC. Ricky has talked about the Airport Leadership Collective. Those are the brightest, the best current and former airport directors who serve as strategists for us. And they came up with this idea. We talk about improving outcomes, measuring what we do, but we cannot do that without a baseline. And so they had this idea that the national office took, issued it or submitted it as a problem statement. And I'm here to announce something that our entire team is really, really proud of. AMAC was awarded a $800,000 grant. You can clap for that. So we were just awarded an $800,000 grant to really study women and minority representation in this industry. We cannot make progress for what we don't know the baseline to be. And so we are working with a team of partners, those that you see on the screen, to continue this work. Again, this is our space. We own this space, and we will continue to lead. We will lead by example, and we will partner. Of course, we're going to partner with all those other associations, but we will be leading the way, and you can expect to see that from us. I hired, part of the investment in our strategy is investing in our team. So at some of the other events, we talked about the growth of our national office. We've hired Jeanette Saunders, if you can stand Jeanette, the VP of Education and Advisory Services. Andre Titus, the Senior Programs Manager and Operations. And our newest member, Ramon Lowe, the Director of Membership and Industry Engagement. So we're investing in that strategy, and Jeanette is going to lead the way in doing that with the DEI Center for Excellence. You'll hear more about it toward the end of this last half of the year. Driving change, evaluating change. There are going to be some 5 components, and again, it will include industry research, best practices, guidance, industry support, governance. So again, you'll hear more about it, but we are and will continue to maintain that authority figure in the industry. We're going to ensure that we continue to add value to the membership so that we're retaining and growing it. The local chapters is a big part of that. So everything that we do, we will be providing best practices for the local chapters, whether it be in programming, whether it be in advocacy strategies, whether it be in membership strategies. But our team, our collective team, that includes the committees, that includes you members, we have been working very hard to ensure that what we do, the foundation of AMAC, is advocacy in action. And the Government Affairs Committee, chaired by Farad Ali, had pulled together and held really some intensive both education and engagement sessions in the industry, or for the industry, around the notice of proposed rulemaking. We submitted a consolidated response to that proposed rulemaking and continue to push for the progress that we expect to see. The FAA, the US DOT, they're great partners. They come to AMAC, they view us as an industry authority, and so we're doing that to ensure that you have growth opportunities, that we are improving the policies that govern the businesses that many of you are in. We have been engaged in the market. I'm not going to go over these, but this is a high level of some of the things that have happened across the country, including our partnership with MBDA, an LA connectivity event. Of course, we talked about our Economic Opportunity and Policy Forum, events with ACRP, rental car supplier diversity. programs, AMAC SOARS event with CTEC, local chapter events, and more. And so you can expect to see the engagement. It's a strength of ours. It's what we do. And so we'll continue to bring our members together, not just at the annual conference, but throughout the year for opportunities to learn, for opportunities to connect, for opportunities to partner. Last but not least, professional development. So I want to thank one of the founding sponsors of our professional development internship mentorship program, and that's Mead and Hunt. They put their money where their mouth is. They really believe in developing those individuals for the future, and they have sponsored the programming around our internship and mentorship program. But yes, that's worth clapping for. And so I don't know if Jamie is in the room or Kiva or, obviously the leadership with Dwight Pullen as APDP chair, but they are doing some amazing work. And if you don't know about the internship and mentorship and fellowship opportunities there, please see one of them. We had CEOs, executives offering the opportunity to coach and mentor people. And so there's no shortage of advice, counsel, a shoulder to cry on if that's what you need, but people who are really interested in your success. So at the end of the year, we did an industry survey, and that industry survey is because we can't increase the membership value if we don't know what's important to you. We're going to be submitting and sharing with you some very detailed information, but I wanted to give you a highlight at least of some of the things that we learned. We received over 1,200 responses, and so I want to thank you for that, to share your comments about what was important to you. In particular, airports said, they want to learn best practices from other airports so they can utilize those best practices to enhance the program. They want a wider selection of DBEs and ACDBEs, and they want AMAC support in doing that. Again, lots of opportunities that we are going to lean into and create programs and initiatives around that based on what we hear from you, but also in concert with our board and our strategic plan. Partnerships are critical. There are many, but a couple that I want to talk about very briefly is our partnership with MBDA and Equity and Infrastructure Project. You guys have, I think later on today, MBDA will be leading a workshop on certification. You heard from Undersecretary Don Cravens at the opening session about the work that MBDA does, and in partnership with AMAC, we will, again, help build capacity to ensure that the opportunities are realized within the industry, both on the infrastructure side as well as all the other opportunities within the airport. Many of you have heard from Phil Washington and talk about Equity and Infrastructure Project. I have the pleasure of representing you, serving on the board there, the board of advisors, and again, that is about creating best practices so airports around the country are changing policy so that you have more opportunity. But again, you'll continue to hear more about some of the partnerships that we have. Last but not least, I want to thank San Antonio for hosting this. I want to thank Nashville for what's to come next year. And I want to give a special thanks to my corporate partners because they support us all through the year, not just at the annual conference, but they ensure that the programs that we have are realized with not just their dollars, but even their resources and their people. And so I want to thank all of our corporate partners for the work that they do, how they pour in, and how they support us both in time and people, and ensuring that the programs that we deliver to you are impactful. So with that, I want to turn it over to the voice of God. I encourage you to stay. We have a really important conversation about to take place with Farad Ali leading it, with Ms. Shanetta Griffin, Mario Diaz, David Bannard, to talk about legislative and policy impacts for your business. And so with that, I'm going to turn it back over to the voice of God and then bring up Farad. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome back to the stage Ricky Smith, Chair of AMAC's Board of Directors.
All right, as we wind down the business meeting, I too want to thank our good friends at San Antonio Airport. Jesus is not here. He's with us. He's been with us at almost everything, but he's not in this meeting. But I just want to say, that, the decision that he made, at least Karen makes him believe he made, to host this conference was not an easy one, right? We had telephone conversations around some of the hurdles he had to overcome to get, support to do it, and he took risks to do this. So I truly want to commend Jesus for being committed to AMAC and taking the hard steps to make sure that this conference can to fruition. So we appreciate that, folks. Let's give him a round of applause, even though he's not here. I will now call for other business. If there's someone else who has an item or two that they would like to have answered or responded to, the floor is now open for other business. Seeing none, I will take a motion to adjourn the meeting. Oh, wait a minute. We do have. You don't? Okay. Okay. I will entertain a motion to close the business meeting. Okay. We have a motion from Justina Mann. We have a second from Bill Swift. If there are no objections to closing the meeting, the business meeting is considered closed. Thank you very much. Please hang around. Don't go anywhere because we do have the AMAC legislative and policy discussion with the amazing experts that Ebony talked about. So with that, the meeting is closed. Thank you.